Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today, we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 18th May 2018. Now let us begin. Now we have taken this article from page 8. Now what this article talks about is the causes of tensions between Japan and China, and then gives reasons for the recent reset of ties between Japan and China. So with regards to this article, let us first understand as to what are the causes of tension between Japan and China as highlighted by the author. Now the main causes of tension as highlighted by the author, wherein the first reason is the resentment in China over the Japanese invasion during World War II. Now as you might know, during World War II, Japan invaded large parts of China, and in which there was a large massacre of Chinese citizens by the Japanese forces, apart from other atrocities that were committed by Japan. And because of this, there is a continued resentment in China over the Japanese invasion during World War II. Now the second reason is that the US-Japan axis, which is considered adversarial by China, wherein China considers the relationship between US and Japan, wherein the United States also has forces that are stationed in Japan, as being anti-China. Now the third reason is the territorial disputes between China and Japan over Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands, wherein if you take a look at this map, these islands are called Diaoyu in China and Senkaku by Japan. However, both of these terms mean the same islands, which are located between China and Japan in the East China Sea. Now hopefully up till here you have understood the three causes of tension that have been highlighted by the author in the article, wherein the first cause of tension between Japan and China is that there is continued resentment in China over Japanese invasion during World War II, in which the Japanese forces committed a lot of atrocities in China. Now the second reason of tension is the US-Japan axis, which is considered adversarial by China, wherein the joint military exercises by Japan and China in the East China Sea and the South China Sea, the stationing of US troops in Japan, and among other factors of US-Japan relations, which China considers adversarial to itself. Now the third and the final cause of tension as given by the author is the territorial disputes over Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands between China and Japan. Now apart from this, the author has highlighted three reasons for the recent reset of ties between Japan and China. Now the first reason given by the author is the unpredictable policy of United States under Donald Trump. Now as you might know, the United States has decreed various tariffs on aluminium and steel imports to the United States, mainly as a countermeasure against China. But however, Japan has gotten no subsidy with regards to these tariffs, even though Japan considers itself an ally of the United States and an important economic partner. And in similar terms, because of this unpredictable policies of the United States under Donald Trump, it has given reasons for China and Japan to cooperate with each other. Now the second reason highlighted by the author is that China and Japan are cooperating against the North Korean nuclear program, wherein both China and Japan want to see a peaceful resolution to the North Korean problem with regards to its nuclear program. Now the third reason highlighted by the author is business or economic interest. Now due to the recent protectionist measures by the United States, the world's second and third largest economy, which are China and Japan, have seen to be cooperating on the economic front. And apart from this, there is also an increased intent of China for having Japanese support for the Belt Road Initiative, wherein both countries are also in negotiations for the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with ASEAN and other nations. So now hopefully up till here you've also understood as to what are the reasons for the recent reset in ties between Japan and China as highlighted by the author, wherein the first reason according to the author is the unpredictable policy of the United States under Donald Trump. The second reason highlighted by the author is Japan and China cooperating against the North Korean nuclear program. And the third and the final reason highlighted by the author is that both China and Japan intend to increase their economic and business interest, wherein these three reasons according to the author are the major causes of the recent reset of ties between Japan and China. Now apart from this, the author has also highlighted the future expectations from the recent reset of ties between Japan and China, wherein according to the author, the reset of ties is bound by specific expected areas of cooperation, wherein according to the author, the areas of cooperation that have come up during the recent reset of ties between Japan and China are very specific in nature, and according to the author, there is no strategic plan on how these areas of cooperation would be moved forward. Now hopefully up till here you've also understood that according to the author, the reset in ties between Japan and China is bound by specific expected areas of cooperation, and these specific expected areas of cooperation do not contain a long-term strategic vision or a clear-cut plan on how China and Japan would be cooperating in these specific areas. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the causes of tension between Japan and China as highlighted by the author and the recent causes of the reset in ties between Japan and China. Now in terms of your UPSC syllabus, wherein this article and the explanation given in this section would be placed in GS paper 2 in the international relations section, more specifically, effect of politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest, wherein the recent reset of ties between Japan and China can be seen as a barometer of the recent reset of ties between India and China. And therefore, this article can be seen in the context of the effect of politics of Japan and China in their recent reset of ties, and wherein the China-Japan reset of ties can be seen as a barometer of the recent reset of ties between India and China, as seen during the Wuhan summit. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 10. Now the first thing that we'll try to understand from this article is about the CAASTA law, which provides for US sanctions that this article talks about. And it is after understanding about the CAASTA law that we'll try to understand as to what has been the focus of this article. Now let us understand about CAASTA law. Now the US, under Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, mandates US President to impose sanctions on entities which have transactions with Russian defense and intelligence sectors. However, India has close defense partnership with Russia, and because of which India can come under sanctions under the new American Act. However, under this act, the US President can issue waivers. Now hopefully up till here you've understood that the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act mandates the US President to impose sanctions on entities which have transactions with Russian defense and intelligence sector, wherein India has close defense partnership with Russia and therefore can come under sanctions under this new American Act. And so there has been talks within America itself wherein the US President can issue waivers to countries such as India, wherein this act might end up having negative impact on Indo-US relations. Now let us understand as to what is the focus of this article. Now Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be travelling to Russia for an informal meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, wherein with regards to the CAASTA law, India has said that it won't allow other countries to dictate terms of India's defense engagement. So with regards to the CAASTA law, India has said that it would not allow other countries, without naming the United States, to dictate terms of India's defense engagement, such as in this case with Russia. Now hopefully up till here you've understood as to what is the CAASTA law and what has been the Indian response. Now with regards to your UPSC syllabus, this article and the explanation given in this section would be placed in GS paper 2 in the international relations section, and more specifically, effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest, wherein previously similar questions have been asked in your UPSC mains examination, wherein the first question was asked in the mains examination of 2010, which had asked the likely impact of the hike in visa processing fees on US visas on India, while the second question was asked in 2012 with regards to the likely negative impact of the protectionist measures proposed by the US on India's software industry. And in similar terms, a question can be asked on the likely impact or the negative impact of the US CAATSA law on India's defense engagement with Russia. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we've taken this article from page 7. Now the reason this article is in the news is that NIOS, or the National Institute of Open Schooling, which is an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Human Resource and Development, has started a scheme under the initiative to promote Indian knowledge traditions, wherein under the scheme it has allowed any student who is 15 years of age and self-certifies that he or she can read and write Sanskrit. And under the scheme, this student would be eligible for a class 10th certification by NIOS under the open and distance mode. Now hopefully up till here you've understood as to why this article is in the news, because the National Institute of Open Schooling, which is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Human Resource and Development, has started a scheme under the initiative to promote Indian knowledge tradition, wherein it has allowed any student who is 15 years of age and self-certifies that he or she can read or write in Sanskrit will be eligible for class 10th certification by NIOS under the open and distance mode. Now let us understand as to what would be the significance of this step. Now it allows Sanskrit learners to achieve the 10th certification and apply for further education and government jobs, wherein several government jobs have the minimum eligibility of a 10th certification. Now, apart from this, NIOS would also assign a Gurukul with prepared Sanskrit textbooks and basic infrastructure. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've also understood the significance of the recent decision of the National Institute of Open Schooling, or NIOS, wherein the scheme of NIOS would allow Sanskrit learners to achieve a 10th certification and apply for further education, such as for class 12th certification, and also for government jobs where the minimum eligibility is of a 10th certification. And moreover, NIOS would also assign a Gurukul which would have prepared Sanskrit textbooks and basic infrastructure for such students. Wherein with regards to a UPSC syllabus, the recent scheme of NIOS would be placed in GS Paper 2 in the subsection Issues related to development of social sector or services relating to education. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 9. Now what this article talks about is a debate on the requirement of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now what we'll do is understand as to what are the relevant points that have been highlighted in each of these three articles with regards to the requirement for the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. And we'll begin with what is the role of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now the first question is as to what is the role of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Now the Information and Broadcasting Ministry is the apex body of the Government of India to formulate and administer the rules, regulations and laws relating to the information and broadcasting policy. The ministry oversees the regulation of media in all forms including television, films, FM radio, web portals, print media, and it oversees them through various acts, rules and guidelines. Now the second question is what is the contemporary requirement for the Information and Broadcasting Ministry? Now according to the article, there are many challenges before the ministry to regulate in terms of flow of information through different modes of communication such as television, media, social media, among other forms of communication. Now media is also considered as one of the pillars of governance. However, at times when different forms of media, especially social media, is used to propagate false or misleading information which hampers public governance. And therefore, the question of regulation by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry becomes important, and therein, the relevance of the ministry as a regulator becomes significant. Now, the third question is what are the recent challenges to the requirement of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry? Now, recently, a news surfaced where Prasar Bharati had to defend its autonomy from the interference by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, wherein Prasar Bharati cited its independence existence as a statutory body under the Prasar Bharati Act of 1990. Moreover, now the objectives of public service broadcasting are achieved in terms of Prasar Bharati Act through the All India Radio and Doordarshan, which were earlier working as BDI units under the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. And therefore, the protection of the autonomy of Prasar Bharati, All India Radio, Doordarshan, among other agencies, from the Information and Broadcasting Ministry becomes a recent challenge to the requirement of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now the fourth and the last question is what should be the road ahead with regards to the role of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now in a democracy, rule-based independence of institutions has become significant which should not be compromised at the discretion of any particular ministry. Now other democratic countries have independent regulators governing institutions that have been formed through acts of parliament. And these institutions should be given financial independence such as the BBC of the United Kingdom, wherein India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, in a speech to the Constituent Assembly in 1948, had asserted the importance of promoting autonomy of All India Radio in the same manner as the BBC. And therefore, the requirement of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry is a subjective debate. And according to the authors, what is required is to empower different institutions under the ministry and ensure reforms in different fields of communication and broadcasting to suit the present circumstances. Now hopefully up till here you have understood as to what has been the views of the three articles on the recent debate on what should be done with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, wherein you understand as to what has been said by the three authors with regards to what is the role of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, what is the contemporary requirement for the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, what are the recent challenges to the requirement of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, and finally you also understand as to what has been said by the three authors with regards to what should be the road ahead with regards to the role of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now with regards to UPSC syllabus, the debate in the article and the explanation given in this section would be placed in GS paper 2. More specifically, structure, organization and functioning of the executive, ministries and departments of the government. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken the first article from page 8 and the data point from page 9. Now what the article and the data point talk about is the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018. Now what we'll do with regards to this article is first understand as to what have been the observations made in the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018, and then understand the challenges and the suggestion highlighted in the article with regards to urban governance and urbanization. Now let us first understand about the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018. Now the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018 is given by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, wherein the report has made several observations. Now the first observation given in the report is that the percentage of urban residents in India would be at 52% as compared to the current 34%. The second observation given in the report is Delhi would become the most populous city by 2028 and thereby would overtake the most populous current city of Tokyo, Japan. Now the report has also observed that the number of mega-sized urban clusters which have a population of above 50 lakh has almost remained constant, while the number of small urban clusters, wherein the small urban clusters would be in the population range of 3 to 5 lakhs, 5 to 10 lakhs and 10 to 50 lakhs, have increased rapidly, wherein the number of small urban clusters with a population of 3 to 5 lakhs has increased from 46 in 2005 to 65 in 2015, while in similar terms, small urban clusters with a population of 10 to 50 lakhs has increased from 34 in 2005 to 50 in 2015, wherein this data has been given in the data point. Now hopefully up till here you have understood that the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018 is given by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. You also further understand the various observations that have been given in this report, wherein the percentage of urban residents in India would increase to 52% from the current 34%. Moreover, according to the report, Delhi is to become the most populous city by 2028 and thereby overtaking the current most populous city of Tokyo, Japan. Moreover, the report has also made an observation that the number of mega-sized urban clusters, meaning those urban clusters which have a population of above 50 lakhs, has been almost constant, while the number of small urban clusters, which have population range of 3 to 5 lakhs, 5 to 10 lakhs and 10 to 50 lakhs, have increased rapidly, wherein the population settlements with 10 to 50 lakhs has increased from 34 in 2005 to 50 in 2015. Now hopefully you have understood what the article and the data point highlights with regards to the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018. Now let us understand the challenges highlighted in the article with regards to urban governance. Now the first challenge highlighted in the article is of civic anarchy. Now civic anarchy means the lack of following of civic rules such as on littering, traffic rules, among other factors of civic sense among residents of a city. Now the second challenge highlighted in the article is of housing deficit, which has led to an increase in slums. The third challenge is the poor investment in public transport. The fourth challenge highlighted is the worsening of air pollution in Indian cities. The fifth challenge highlighted in the article is of waste management, wherein according to the article, most cities in India are unable to collect and dispose of municipal waste in a scientific manner. The sixth challenge highlighted in the article is of urban governance. According to the article, even after 25 years of formation of constitutional urban local bodies, such as in the form of elected mayors, lack the authority and the financial resources to introduce urgently needed reforms. Now hopefully you have understood the 6 challenges that have been highlighted in the article with regards to urban governance, wherein the first challenge is of civic anarchy, wherein the residents of a city lack the civic sense of driving in traffic, disposal of waste, littering, among other factors. The second challenge highlighted in the article is that the housing deficit in Indian cities have led to an increase in the slums. The third challenge highlighted in the article is that the poor investment in public transport has led to an increase in the number of private vehicles on the roads, which in turn have caused the fourth challenge, which is the worsening of air pollution in urban Indian cities, wherein the recent report of the World Health Organization shows 14 Indian cities among the top 20 worldwide with the world's worst air quality. The fifth challenge highlighted in the article is of waste management, wherein most cities in India are unable to collect and dispose of municipal waste in a scientific manner. And the sixth and the last challenge highlighted in the article is of urban governance, wherein the article states that even after 25 years of formation of constitutional urban local bodies, elected mayors lack the authority and the financial resources to introduce urgently needed urban reforms. Now let us understand as to what have been the suggestions given in the article to improve urban governance. The first suggestion given by the article is that improvements in rental housing should be a priority in urban planning. The second suggestion given in the article is to improve the facilities in rural areas so as to reduce the rural to urban migration. And the third and the final suggestion given in the article is to empower local governance. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've also understood the suggestions given in the article to improve urban governance. Now, the first suggestion given in the article is that there should be improvement in rental housing and therefore should be made a priority in urban planning. The second suggestion is to improve facilities in rural areas so as to reduce the rural to urban migration. And the third and the final suggestion is to empower local governance in form of urban local bodies. Now previously, several questions on urbanization have been asked in your UPSC mains examination, wherein the first question was asked in the UPSC mains examination of 2013. The second question was asked in GS paper 1 in the year 2015. And the third question was also asked in GS paper 1 in the year 2016, wherein questions on cities, urban governance, urbanization have been continuously asked in your UPSC mains examination, and with regards to which the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018 and the highlights given in the article with regards to urban governance and urbanization thereby becomes relevant. And hopefully you have gotten an understanding of the observations of the UN World Urbanization Prospects Report of 2018, and you also understand the highlights given in the article with regards to urban governance and urbanization. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now I've taken this article from page 13. Now the reason this article is in the news is that the Ministry of Commerce has formally issued a notification for the creation of a DirectorGeneral of Trade Remedies, wherein this Director-General of Trade Remedies would be an apex body and would subsume the Director-General of Anti-Dumping and Allied Duties, the Director-General of Safeguards, and some functions of the Director-General of Foreign Trade, wherein they have been merged into a single body called the Director-General of Trade Remedies, and it would be an apex body for administrating all trade remedial measures, wherein these measures would include anti-dumping, countervailing duties, and various safeguard measures, wherein the Director General of Trade Remedies would provide a trade defense support to Indian domestic industries, wherein it would provide in dealing with the increased instances of trade remedy investigations by other countries. Now, hopefully, up till here, you have understood that the Ministry of Commerce is creating a new Director General of Trade Remedies, wherein this Director General of Trade Remedies would be an apex body for administration of all trade related remedial measures and would subsume the Director General of Anti-Dumping and Allied Duties, the Director General of Safeguard, and various functions of the Director General of Foreign Trade, and wherein the trade remedial measures would include anti-dumping, countervailing duty, and various safeguard measures. And apart from this, the Director General of Trade Remedies would provide trade defense support to Indian domestic industries, especially exporters, in dealing with the increase of trade remedial investigations by other countries. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's paper. Now we move on to the question for today.